everybody. So I was vaccinated yesterday and I have no symptoms. I have a full range of motion in both arms. So all is well so far. Let's see. I hope I don't get drowsy while filming this video. We'll see. So today I want to talk about this book here. It's called Prejudice and Zombies, Dawn of the Dreadfuls by Steve Hawkinsmith. So I found out that this is a prequel actually to the original book, but I mean, by original I mean Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Not Pride and Prejudice. So yeah, but even though it's a prequel and I haven't read the sequel, it's a standalone and it's quite enjoyable actually. You know, I'm a huge fan of zombies. Like, everything that has zombies in it is like, even if it doesn't make sense as a story. And I'm especially fond of comedies with zombies, like the movie Shaun of the Dead. Amazing. This book has it all. It has comedy, it has zombies, it has Pride and Prejudice, and it also has like girls in gowns carrying swords. What else can you ask for? Steve Hawkinsmith novel has little to do with Pride and Prejudice. The dedication reads, hang on, for Jane, we kid because we love. That's such a lovely dedication. We might have the Bennet sisters as protagonists in this story, but like the storyline is totally different. We have the beautiful Jane, I suppose, after Jane Austen, maybe? I don't know. The strong-willed Elizabeth, sensible Mary, and the younger ones, silly Lydia and Kitty, who keep giggling throughout the entire novel. Like, so annoying. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Pride and Prejudice. I might enjoy it sometimes, but that's that. So I found the twists in this book like quite refreshing. And this is not only a fan fiction, if you will. It has like so many hidden messages in it and so many not so hidden messages. But we'll get to that later. The Bennets live near Meryton, Hertfordshire, and attend country dances at Netherfield Park, which belongs to the Baron Lord Lampley. Funniest name I've ever heard. The story begins with a funeral where a man in the casket gets up, and that's how we know that dreadfuls have returned. In this book, the word zombie is used occasionally, although it is not considered polite and ladylike. We soon find out that zombies have plagued England in the past, a period they call the Troubles. Mr. Bennet suspects that there will be more undead coming their way soon, so he decides to train his daughters accordingly so they can fight. So the story begins. Girls in gowns run around carrying katanas and practicing the deadly arts daily. A master is sent to them to help them with their practice, and with the slightest disobedience, he makes them do the, what's that called? He makes them do the damn baithaks. Not even sure I'm pronouncing that right. It's so warm in here. I thought this damn baithak thing was like a push-up, but I looked it up and it's more like a burpee, but not quite. I thought it was a totally made-up word until I googled it. It is a thing. It's not made up. And I'll leave a link in the description in case you're wondering what that looks like. It looks difficult. Master Hawksworth and Elizabeth slowly develop feelings for each other. while Lord Lumpley has feelings for Jane. It seems that Lord Lumpley is like kind of a womanizer, and his thoughts on Jane are quite nasty. And that contrasts hugely to the rest of the love stories developing in the rest of the subplots. We'll talk about that later too. Oh, I have so many things to say about this. So the girls train and train and train and they become warriors. And that is not ladylike. And they are scoffed by the people in town. Long story short, Lizzie finds a doctor who is trying to experiment on the undead, and he captures one of the zombies and tries to teach him the English manners. They call the zombie Mr. Smith, and he teaches him like how to be a gentleman. Splendid. He dreams of domesticating the zombies, like in Warm Bodies, I suppose. The army has arrived to help their battle against the zombies, and at the same time, Mrs. Bennet is trying to get the girls to find husbands, because it's the 1800s still. Suitably wealthy husbands. But here we have like a love triangle among other love triangles. Since Elizabeth is kind of falling in love with Master Hogsworth and is also starting to develop feelings for Dr. Kecklepenny, who is also in love with her, and he takes advantage of their time together, like trying to train the zombie to like be more English. He takes advantage of that and kisses her. That could have counted as assault. Just saying. She did not consent, but moving on. That's pretty much it. Like, they train, they fight, they flirt, and then in the end everyone dies. Okay, maybe not everyone, but you get the idea. So the book closes with a scene of Lady Catherine de Bourgh. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm terrible with names. So the book finishes with her, with a scene of her and a man in a box with no limbs. Oh yeah, forgot to mention. There was a Captain Cannon, his name, who was with the army and he had no limbs. He was carried around by two men in a wheelbarrow. Yeah, hilarious. I don't know why I found that super funny. I understand that maybe back then they didn't have like wheelchairs, but a wheelbarrow? Like, how did the author think about that? Anyways, so there's this implication that the man at the end of the story is actually Master Hogsworth, who was bitten by zombies in all four limbs, and Lady Catherine just chopped them off to save his life, and he ended up without limbs because the huge secret was that he was a coward and he couldn't fight. That's a tragic ending for a proud man, but not undeserving. He had the same fate as Captain Cannon, which implies that maybe that's the same reason Captain Cannon lost his limbs. However, there's no insinuation that the captain was a coward, because even without limbs, he still fought against the zombies. And I mentioned earlier that he was carried around in a wheelbarrow by two soldiers that he called limbs. Okay, I thought that was very funny at the beginning, but it's also very inappropriate. This book overall was hilarious. Throughout the entire story, I pictured Keira Knightley like with her gown running around carrying a sword or something and doing push-ups or whatever they were doing. I also really appreciated the issues addressed in this book, like, for instance, the terrible misogyny. The fact that something was normalized in a different era doesn't make it okay. Being a lady who is not ladylike and aspires to be more than someone's wife was also Jane Austen's point in her original novel. The magic, however, with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is the extremity of it. And that's what makes the satire work. If it was mildly funny, it wouldn't have worked that way. We had to visualize girls in gowns carrying katanas to like fully comprehend how ridiculous it was to wear gowns all the time. Okay, that's also not the point. I'm just trying to be funny here. I'm sorry. And whatever they choose to do doesn't make them less girls. And by the way, not everyone wants to be ladylike. Don't come for me. Another important part of the story is all the love stories developing in the background. Oh, here we go. We have multiple love triangles. We have Elizabeth, Hawksworth, and Kitty, Hawksworth, Elizabeth, and Cacklepenny, Mr. Bennet, Mrs. Bennet, and Captain Cannon. We have Lieutenant Tyndall, Jane, and Lord Lumley. There are multiple love stories going on. Lieutenant Tyndall, who's with the army, is falling in love with Jane, and he's kind of a misogynist. No, he's clearly a misogynist. Women belong to be wives and mothers sort of thing. He's like everything Mrs. Bennet would have wished for her daughters. Oh, that's so sad. We have womanizers, we deal with incest, we have horny men, but most of all, and most importantly, we have horny women. All these are wonderful oppositions to what we've been presented for so long. We have always idealized, romanticized, and fantasized older times as more pure, as if love back then was more true and powerful than the love we feel today, as if that's a thing. Is that even possible? I suspect that we've been fed fables. And society back then was just as messed up as it is today. Maybe even more so. And I think love is the same in all centuries. We're just not as suppressed today as people were hundreds of years ago, especially women. So this is a refreshing depiction that love is love, and love is flawed, and love can be pure, and love can be dirty, because attraction is both. And finally, the last thing this book touches is misogyny. Last but not least, this book is full of it. It tackles misogyny and it proves it has no grounds, but it still exists. And unfortunately, misogyny is not an issue of the past. It would be nice to sit here on my floor today and speak about how humanity is way past that, but that's not the case. In Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, we see men fighting over women without giving the woman a voice. She has to step her ground and fight for her right to choose whom she wants and what she wants, apparently, instead of letting men just decide for her. That is a very sad part of today's world. Men in power are the ones who decide what women should and should not do, in most cases. And to top that, there are still men out there who believe that women belong in the kitchen. The saddest part of all, though, is that there are women out there who believe that women belong in the kitchen. And what this book proves is that women can choose. Women can do anything if they set their mind to, and they can choose whether they want to be in the kitchen or not. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a housewife or a stay-at-home mom. There's nothing wrong with any of that, but there's also nothing wrong in not wanting those things. Like, not everyone wants to marry a, how did Mrs. Bennett put it? Suitably wealthy husband. Not all women want husbands, and not all women want men. So, yeah. We can choose what we want to be. We can choose how to spend our lives, and we can choose to be ladylike and follow the norm, or we can choose to be ourselves and wear gowns and run around with katanas. Just saying. That would be nice though. Just thinking about it now, like, it would be nice to run around in gowns and carrying katanas. Like, okay, maybe not. I don't know. Like, you do you. I believe that as long as you're not hurting anyone else and you're not hurting yourself, you should be allowed to do whatever you want. So yeah, I'm leaving you with that now. Have you read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So yeah. Okay, bye now. I'll see you in the next video.